When Anna told me she sold her mother's jewelry, she did not look me in the eye. She set the cardboard box on the kitchen table and said it straight out, as if her voice alone could keep the ground from shifting. Dad, I sold Mom's things. The jewelry. All of it. For a split second, I thought I had misheard. The sound of the dishwasher filled the silence between us, rattling like old bones. In that instant, I felt every year I had carried since her mother passed, every memory lined up behind me, like framed photos in dust. The words were simple, but they cracked open something I did not know was still raw. Anna had always been the brave one, sharp-tongued, impatient with sentiment, even as a girl. But now her hands gripped the edge of the box so tightly, her knuckles showed white. My house smelled like strong coffee and lemon pledge, the same as it always did on Saturdays, but nothing felt steady. Outside, the late November wind pushed against the windows, the maple leaves spinning in cold spirals across the lawn. It was nearly Thanksgiving. The first snow was still a rumor. Anna's voice wobbled. I got a good price, Dad. We needed the money. I thought you'd understand. The ring her mother wore for 34 years, the locket with our wedding photo, the delicate gold bracelet that had once slipped off Anna's baby wrist and fallen between the couch cushions. These were not things you could price. These were what remained when the people were gone. I ran a hand across my jaw, rough with stubble, searching for something steady to hold. The kitchen, with its battered oak cabinets and worn linoleum, felt suddenly foreign. I could still see Anna, at 8 years old, standing on a stool by the counter tongue, sticking out as she pressed sugar cookies into shapes for Christmas. Her mother would laugh and steal bits of dough when she thought I wasn't looking. Now those days felt farther away than my own childhood. I kept my voice flat. Did you think to ask me before you did it? My words sounded strange, as if they came from someone else. Anna's eyes flicked up, then away, her jaw working against the weight of what she had done. I didn't want to bother you. You've been so tired since Mom died. I figured it was just stuff, Dad. Just stuff. My chest tightened. The last months had been hard. The mortgage was overdue. Anna's student loans hung like a storm over every dinner. I worked nights at the auto shop, the oil and grease clinging to my hands no matter how much I scrubbed. But I had always managed to protect something small and bright for us. For her, for the memory of the woman who built this life with me, one packed lunch and paycheck at a time. Anna moved toward the fridge, opening and closing the door, as if looking for a way out. I'll pay you back, she said, quieter now. I'm sorry, Dad. I watched her from across the table, seeing not just the woman she had become, but the stubborn little girl she always was. I wanted to yell. I wanted to gather every missing ring, every charm and chain, and lay them in her hands so she could feel the years behind them. Instead, I sat down heavy and slow and listened to the wind rattling the glass. Your mother wanted you to have those things I said at last. Not to sell, to remember. Anna flinched. The box between us was empty now, hollow, as the ache that settled in my chest. Outside, the wind picked up, and somewhere in the attic a branch scratched against the siding, the sound lonely and far off. There are wounds too quiet for words. That day I learned how deep they could go. I looked at Anna and wondered if she understood what she had done. Not just to her mother's memory, but to both of us. The room felt colder than it should have. Anna hovered by the door, silent, the apology stuck in her throat. I stared at the empty box and felt every bit of loss all over again. Sometimes it takes only a moment to lose the last thing that ties you to someone you loved. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you're listening in the comments. I sat at the kitchen table long after Anna slipped down the hall, the empty box still between my hands, like evidence in a case no one wanted to try. The sound of her door clicking shut felt final, but it was only another layer of distance added to the pile we'd built since her mother's funeral. I watched the thin winter light slide across the table, catching on the old coffee stains and the frayed edges of placemats Martha had sewn back when Anna was just a toddler. Every mark in this house told a story, and suddenly I felt them crowding in each one, demanding not to be forgotten. The furnace kicked on, rumbling through the vents, stirring the scent of fried onions and strong black coffee that always clung to this place. The clock above the stove showed nearly noon. I had missed breakfast, lost in chores and memories that came too quick when the weather turned cold. My eyes drifted to the wall where Anna's graduation photo hung next to the last family Christmas we spent together. Martha's arm around both of us, her smile strong enough to warm the whole house. I wondered if Anna even noticed the empty spots on the shelf where her mother's keepsakes had once stood. Maybe it was easier for her not to look. My chest ached, not just from what was gone, but from the sharp memory of how it had felt to have a home full of voices. Back then, the kitchen was never still. I used to joke that the only quiet was after bedtime, when Martha would lean against the counter, her hair pulled back, eyes soft, and tell me she was proud of how far we'd come. Sometimes Anna would wander out, half awake, mumbling about monsters in the closet or asking for water. Martha would scoop her up, settle her on her lap, and hum until the fear faded away. I had always thought we'd have more time. More nights like that. I stood the chair scraping the floor and made my way down the narrow hallway. The bathroom door was cracked. I heard Anna's voice inside, low and tense, probably talking to herself or to some friend through the phone. I paused by the laundry closet, fingers tracing the notches in the door frame, where we had marked Anna's height. Every year, the ink faded, but still legible. She had stopped letting me measure her after her mother died. I could not blame her. Grief made us all strangers in our own skin. In the living room, the air was thick with the faint smell of wood polish and old books. Martha's favorite armchair sat empty beneath the window, a faded quilt folded over the back. I remembered the first time I saw her there reading a dog-eared paperback, while Anna napped on the couch, the sunlight turning her hair to copper. There was a dent in the arm, where she'd rest her elbow, the fabric smoothed by years of use. I let my hand rest there now, feeling the ghost of her warmth. The grandfather clock in the corner chimed the sound, echoing through rooms that felt too big for just the two of us. I caught my reflection in the glass of the curio cabinet, graying beard, tired eyes, a flannel shirt rolled to the elbows, hands that never quite washed clean. Anna always said I looked older than my years, but I knew the truth. Loss ages a man in ways time can't measure. I crossed to the sideboard, opened the drawer where Martha's recipes lived, yellowed cards in her careful handwriting notes scribbled in the margins. Tucked in the back was a photo of the three of us at Lake Superior. Anna grinning, Martha with her arm around us both, the sun so bright we all squinted. I closed my eyes, felt the weight of that happiness press down. From down the hall I heard Anna's voice rise, a sharp sound that broke the hush. I moved closer, footsteps soft on the old carpet. Her door was ajar. I saw her sitting on the bed knees, pulled up cell phone pressed to her cheek. I told him, she whispered, voice cracking. I thought he'd yell, but he just looked at me. I messed up. I know I did. She was quiet, listening, then let out a shaky laugh that held no real joy. I don't even have the money anymore. The car payment, the bills, everything's gone so fast. I just wanted to make it easier for him. I thought it would help. I wanted to step inside to say something that would bridge the gap, but the words stuck. My pride, her fear, the long years of keeping our hurts quiet, they built a wall neither of us could see over. Instead, I turned back to the kitchen, picked up the empty box, and carried it to the garage. Dust motes floated in the weak sunlight, slicing through the window. Martha's old gardening gloves still hung from a hook, stiff with dirt and years. I set the box on the workbench beside a half-finished birdhouse. Anna and I had started the summer before Martha got sick. We never finished it. Life got busy, then life got short. I stood there for a long moment surrounded by tools and broken things waiting for repair, and felt the sharp edge of helplessness dig in. The ache was deeper than anger, more permanent than disappointment. It was the hollow left when you realize some mistakes cannot be fixed, only carried. As I turned to leave, my gaze caught on something tucked behind a can of paint thinner. A flash of gold, thin and unmistakable a chain. My heart skipped. I reached for it, careful hands trembling. It was Martha's locket, the one with our wedding photo inside. Anna must have missed it when she cleared out the jewelry box. For a second, relief flooded through me, sweet and painful. Then the front door slammed Anna's footsteps, fast and angry on the porch boards. I tucked the locket into my pocket and braced myself for whatever would come next. The weight of family secrets pressing heavy as the first snow threatened to fall. Anna's footsteps echoed on the porch, hard and quick, the way she used to run out to meet me after work, before she learned that grown-ups come home tired. I slipped the locket deeper into my pocket as she yanked open the door, eyes shining with something fierce, anger maybe, or shame, that felt too hot to name. She pushed past me, letting the cold wind rattle in behind her arms, wrapped tight across her chest. For a second, I saw the child who used to cling to my leg at the grocery store, afraid to get lost. But that softness was gone now, replaced by a hard edge I didn't know how to reach. "Where were you?" she snapped, not looking at me, dropping her purse on the kitchen table so hard it skidded across the old vinyl. Her cheeks were blotched pink hair pulled back with too much force, her breath sharp as frost. She fiddled with her phone fingers, moving fast, avoiding my eyes. "I thought you'd be in the garage, but you weren't. I needed the checkbook." "I guess you hid that too." I didn't answer right away, just watched the way her hands shook as she rifled through the stack of bills, muttering under her breath about late notices and overdraft fees. She'd started taking over the bills a few months after Martha passed, telling me it was easier if she handled things. I let her not because I trusted her with it, but because I didn't have the fight left in me. The world was changing faster than I could keep up, and Anna seemed so sure she could fix things, if only she moved fast enough. I used to think she was just trying to help. Now I wondered what she'd been hiding. She flung a bill across the table. "Did you know the electric is about to get shut off? Or that the water's overdue again?" Her voice was pitched high brittle. "But yeah, let's worry about some stupid old necklace. Real smart, Dad." I kept my voice low. Some things can be replaced, some can't. I saw her flinch just for a second, but she covered it quick with a hard laugh. "I did what I had to do. We're behind on everything. I'm working double shifts trying to keep this place together while you—" She bit her tongue, turning away, but the words hung in the air, sharp as barbed wire. "While you what I finished the thought for her. While I fall apart. While I walk the house like a ghost, clutching at memories, unable to let anything go." I thought of the locket in my pocket, a secret she hadn't managed to pawn, and wondered what else she'd swept away when she thought I wasn't looking. The house felt emptier every week, little things disappearing. Martha's cookbooks boxed up for goodwill, the hand-stitched tablecloths replaced with plastic runners from the discount store. Anna said we didn't need that old stuff cluttering up the place, but I saw how she tossed it all without asking. It wasn't about cleaning. It was about erasing what hurt too much to keep. She started pacing the kitchen, shoving a chair out of the way with her hip opening and closing the cupboard, her movements jerky. "You think this is easy for me? You think I wanted to sell Mom's jewelry?" Her voice trembled, but the anger came out louder. "You left me to handle everything. The bills, the funeral, the cleaning. I can't do it all, Dad. I just can't." A part of me wanted to tell her I understood that grief had burned me hollow, too, that every night I lay awake replaying the last months of Martha's life, searching for something I could have done different. But the words wouldn't come. My own pride kept me silent, and in that silence Anna's resentment grew. "You could have at least asked, I managed, but it sounded thin even to me." She rounded on me, eyes bright and wet. "Asked you, would it have made a difference?" "You never listen, Dad. You just sit in the garage or stare at the TV. I was drowning and you didn't even notice." The truth in her voice cut deeper than any accusation. I wanted to reach out, but she moved away, leaning against the counter, staring out the window at the bare trees and gray sky. Her shoulders shook, and for a heartbeat I thought she might cry. But she just pressed her lips together and swallowed the pain like medicine. For the first time I saw how tired she really was, dark circles under her eyes, her skin two pale hands raw from winter and hard work. She was carrying more than I'd let myself see, weighed down by both her own regret and mine. The air between us crackled with things unsaid. The kitchen, with all its warmth and memories, felt colder than the wind outside. I turned to the sink, running the water, as if it might wash something clean. From the corner of my eye, I saw Anna pull the mail from the basket, tearing open envelopes, scanning the numbers, as if searching for hope in the fine print. As she turned to leave, her foot caught on the rug, and a letter fluttered to the floor. She stooped to grab it, then paused, brow furrowed. It was addressed to Martha. The postmark faded, the handwriting unmistakable. Martha's sister in Michigan, who hadn't spoken to us since the funeral. Anna stared at the envelope, hands trembling, a new kind of dread in her eyes. "Did you know about this?" she whispered. I shook my head, feeling the weight of secrets piling higher. Anna tore the letter open, scanning the page, her face draining of color. She thrust it toward me, words shaking as she spoke. "She knew about the jewelry, Aunt Kate. She says Mom promised her the locket if anything happened." The room spun. I reached for a chair, the locket burning in my pocket. Anna's eyes fixed on me with something like accusation, or maybe betrayal. And in that instant I knew our troubles were about to double the past, refusing to stay buried, the smallest things rising up to tear us further apart. Anna stood frozen, the letter trembling in her hand, lips pressed together so tightly a white line formed where her mouth should be. I took the paper, scanning the neat, looping script that always felt a little old-fashioned, unmistakably Martha's family. Kate's words were precise and cool. "If anything should happen, I would like the locket promised to me. I hope this isn't too much to ask. You know how much it meant to our mother." I felt heat rising in my cheeks, part anger, part embarrassment, as if we'd been caught squabbling over the scraps of the past before the dust had settled. Anna's face was blank, but her hands betrayed her, twisting the hem of her shirt. "Did Mom really promise her?" she asked, voice small. I shook my head, but the truth was muddier than either of us wanted to admit. Martha and Kate never could let go of old grudges, always measuring every kindness, every slight. The last time we'd seen Kate, she left our house before dessert, saying she couldn't stomach another lecture on responsibility from her little sister. The phone rang, the shrill sound cutting through the tension. Anna startled, dropping the letter. I snatched up the receiver, recognizing Kate's number from the Michigan area code. For a moment I considered letting it ring, but Anna's stare pinned me in place. I answered, trying to keep my voice level. "Hello, Bill." Kate never bothered with pleasantries. Her voice was clipped, businesslike. I sent a letter. Did Anna find it? I hesitated, glancing at my daughter. She did. We're just reading it now. A long pause. I suppose you know what this is about, then. I don't want to fight Bill, but family is family. That locket was supposed to come to me. I already spoke to the lawyer who handled Martha's estate. He told me the distribution was up to you and Anna. I'd rather we didn't make this ugly. Anna's fists clenched. I could hear her breathing ragged and fast behind me. Kate, a lot has happened here. I managed voice shaking. Things got moved around. Anna, she didn't mean. Kate cut me off. I'm coming down next week. We'll talk in person. I expect the locket bill. And I'd appreciate it if you didn't let Anna pawn off what isn't hers. The line went dead. I set the receiver down with care, resisting the urge to slam it back into its cradle. Anna stood stiff, her face a mask. She always hated me. Anna spat. She blamed me for Mom leaving Michigan for everything. Now she wants the last thing that meant something. I watched her eyes dart to the window, her body wound tight as a spring. For a moment the room was thick with all the years of family parties turned sour by old feuds, the holidays when Martha would go quiet after reading a card from Kate, her fingers worrying a napkin until it shredded. The old ache in my chest pulsed sharper. Anna turned on me. Did you know she was coming? Did you two plan this behind my back? Her voice broke at the end. Panic chasing the anger. No, Anna. I didn't know. But I realized then how little I'd been paying attention. Since Martha died, I'd let Anna shoulder too much blind to the things slipping through the cracks. Maybe I'd been afraid to look too closely to face how much I'd lost. Anna shoved past me, storming into the living room, her footsteps pounding on the floorboards. I followed the old family photos on the walls, blurring as I passed Martha's face smiling from another life. Anna stood by the window, hands pressed to her temples, muttering to herself. The front door banged open. The sound of boots thudded in the hall. My sister Janet stepped in, cheeks ruddy from the cold arms full of grocery bags. She took one look at us and set the bags down with a sigh. "What's going on now?" she said, voice tired. "I could hear you from the driveway." Anna spun. "Aunt Kate is coming for Mom's locket. She thinks I stole it. Dad never said a word. Nobody tells me anything around here." Janet's eyes narrowed. "Anna, honey, your mother and Kate fought about that locket since they were kids. Let her come. She's never happy unless someone else is miserable." She shook her head, clucking her tongue. "What I want to know is why this house feels emptier every time I visit." "Bill, you look like hell." "Anna, you've lost weight." "When's the last time either of you slept?" Anna glared. "We're fine. I'm fine." Janet's gaze sharpened. "I found a pile of Martha's things out by the trash last week. Tablecloths, photo albums. You tossing out memories, Anna, or just cleaning house?" Anna's jaw worked. "It's not your business." Janet shot me a look. "You letting her run the show, Bill. I know grief makes us crazy, but you're still her father. Somebody needs to set this house straight before there's nothing left." The words stung shame washing over me. I tried to defend Anna, but Janet barreled on, voice rising. "And don't get me started on the money, Bill. I saw the late notice from the bank in your mailbox. You need help. Anna can't fix everything by herself, and neither can you. Maybe it's time to stop pretending you two aren't breaking apart at the seams." Anna lunged for her coat, eyes wild. "I'm done. I'm going to Sarah's." She grabbed her keys, hands shaking so hard she nearly dropped them. Janet blocked her path, voice gentler now. "Honey, don't run. Let's talk this out." But Anna yanked away, nearly tearing the storm door off its hinges as she disappeared into the dusk car engine roaring to life. I watched her taillights vanish down the street, the house suddenly twice as silent, grief and anger swirling in the air like dust. Janet turned to me, voice low. "You still have the locket, don't you, Bill?" I said nothing, my hand drifting to my pocket, feeling the shape of secrets pressing hard and hot through the worn denim. Upstairs, Anna's bedroom light flickered on, then snapped out. A siren wailed in the distance, the old clock struck midnight, and for the first time, I wondered if there was any way to put this family back together before it all burned down. The house settled into a cold quiet after Anna's car vanished, the silence broken only by the tick of the grandfather clock and Janet's impatient sigh as she put away groceries with unnecessary force. I stood in the kitchen staring at the empty place where Anna's keys used to hang my hand, still wrapped tight around the locket, burning a hole in my pocket. Janet watched me, her eyes softening a bit as she handed me a can of soup to stack in the pantry. "She'll come back," Janet said, her voice low. "She's angry, but she's not gone for good." I nodded, but I wasn't so sure. Anna's anger had never been the slam the door, come back after supper kind. Her silences stretched sometimes for days, and every time she left, I wondered if she'd come home, changed harder, a little more out of reach. The ache behind my ribs grew sharper, and I leaned against the counter, breath coming in short bursts. Janet moved closer, her voice turning gentle. "You two have to talk this through. Martha wouldn't have wanted you at each other's throats over a piece of jewelry, Bill. She'd have made us sit at the kitchen table until somebody said the truth out loud. The truth." I almost laughed. The truth was, I'd failed at holding things together. Since Martha died, I'd hidden behind the everyday work bills, the small rituals of survival, letting Anna shoulder too much, shutting out my own grief and hers. I remembered nights when Martha would slip quietly into Anna's room after an argument, stroking her hair, whispering stories about growing up with nothing, about fighting for every scrap of comfort. Martha believed in forgiveness, but she believed in facing things too. I'd done neither. Janet started to make tea, moving around the kitchen like she still lived here. The steam curled into the air, filling the room with the scent of chamomile and lemon, the same kind Martha used to brew on sleepless nights. I sat at the table, fingers tracing the grooves Martha's rings had left in the wood, memories flooding in so thick I could hardly breathe, the kitchen filled with ghosts. Anna at 3 dancing in footy pajamas, sticky with jelly, giggling as Martha pretended not to see her stealing sugar cubes. Anna at 15, storming out after a fight about curfew, slamming the same door she'd just torn from its hinges. Martha sitting by the window worrying about college bills, tracing the locket's chain between her fingers, always believing Anna would find her way even when I could not. I pulled the locket from my pocket, turning it over and over in my palm. The clasp was bent, the gold dulled by years of wear. Inside, the faded photo stared back at me, Martha's smile wide and unguarded, Anna's cheeks round my arm draped over both their shoulders. A family. For a moment, I wished I could climb inside that old photograph and stay there before the years splintered us apart. Janet sat across from me, hands wrapped around her mug. "You can't keep hiding from her, Bill. You need to tell Anna about the locket, about what Martha wanted. And you need to tell her what you've been hiding from yourself." I hesitated, shame prickling my skin. "It's not just the locket," I whispered. "It's everything. I let her sell it all. I let her carry the burden alone. I didn't protect her or Martha's memory. I was afraid if I held on too tight, I'd lose them both anyway." Janet reached across, squeezing my hand. "You lost Martha, but you don't have to lose Anna. Not if you fight for her even now." A sudden banging at the front door jolted us both. Janet went to answer, and I heard voices, Anna's strained and frantic, and another lower, unfamiliar, but urgent. I rushed to the entryway to see Anna standing in the hall, tears streaking her face, holding out her phone. A man stood just behind her arms, crossed, jaw tight. Anna thrust her phone at me. "Show him Dad! Show him the locket!" I stared at her heart, pounding. Anna's voice trembled. "I went to Sarah's. I needed to clear my head. When I told her about the jewelry her brother he works at the pawn shop, he said a woman came in yesterday with Mom's sapphire brooch." "The one you thought I sold." "I didn't, Dad. I never touched it. Someone else did." Janet stepped forward, concern etched deep in her face. "What are you saying, Anna?" Anna glared at me. "I'm saying it wasn't me. Someone's been taking things from this house for months, and I think I know who." The man behind her nodded, pulling a business card from his pocket. "I'm Mike," he said. "Sarah's brother. The woman who sold the brooch, she matched the description of Aunt Kate. She said she was settling a family estate. Paid in cash. I felt the world tilt under my feet. Anna's accusations, my suspicion, all of it aimed in the wrong direction. The locket in my hand felt heavier now, no longer just a memory, but a line drawn in the sand. Anna's eyes blazed. "You blamed me. You let everyone blame me. And all along someone else was emptying this house behind our backs." Janet stood silent, her face pale. I looked from Anna to the locket, the old photograph, then to the man at the door, realization dawning too late. In that instant, headlights swept across the window, a car door slammed, and Kate's voice echoed through the night, sharp, insistent, full of purpose. The truth, it seemed, was finally coming to the door, and none of us would leave untouched. Kate's voice carried through the front door before she even stepped inside. "Bill, Anna. Let's talk like adults, please." There was nothing casual about her tone. Janet stiffened, glancing at Anna, whose cheeks still shone with dried tears, but whose posture was already changing, shoulders squared, jaw, set a new anger and clarity hardening behind her eyes. I tucked the locket into my fist, heart hammering, feeling the weight of years of small betrayals and half-kept promises settle in my bones. For too long, I'd let life push me from one day to the next, numbing myself, with routine refusing to look too closely at the places where things were quietly coming undone. But tonight, watching Anna refuse to shrink back, feeling Janet's presence at my side, and facing the truth that had finally breached our walls, something shifted inside me. The ache of guilt and regret remained, but beneath it, a small, stubborn ember of resolve began to burn. Anna was the first to move. She strode into the hall, blocking Kate in the doorway. "You've been in this house when we weren't here," she said, voice low but steady. "Sarah's brother saw you at the pawn shop. You sold Mom's brooch." Kate's eyes widened for just a moment, then narrowed her features, smoothing into that familiar, practiced composure. "I did what Martha would have wanted," she said, chin up. "She wanted those things in the family, not gathering dust. If you had any respect for your mother's wishes, I cut her off. Kate, you should have come to us. You took what wasn't yours." Janet stepped forward, crossing her arms. "You didn't just take things, Kate. You made Anna the villain. You let us tear each other apart while you played the martyr. For a heartbeat, everything stopped. The only sound was the clock's uneven tick, as if time itself was holding its breath. Anna trembled, but she stood her ground. I watched her saw the pain and betrayal etched into her face, and realized I had to do what I'd avoided for too long. I had to protect her, even if it meant going to war with family. I reached into my pocket and held up the locket. "You came for this, didn't you? This is what you wrote about. Martha wanted it to stay with Anna. That's what she told me before she died. She wanted her daughter to carry her memory. Not you. Not anyone else." Kate's eyes darted to the locket, her lips parting. For the first time, her confidence slipped. "You're making a mistake, Bill," Martha told me. I heard her myself, I said, firmer now than I'd felt in months. She wanted forgiveness, not another round of blame. Janet added, "You need to leave Kate. Now, let us pick up the pieces you helped scatter." Kate glanced around the room, weighing her options, but she saw she was outnumbered, and more importantly, out of places to hide. Her mouth twisted in a small, defeated smile. "Family," she said, as if the word itself could excuse it all. She turned and left the door closing with a finality that echoed in my chest. The silence that followed was heavier than anger, but something else was present to relief, or the start of it. Anna sagged against the wall, the adrenaline fading, her breathing ragged. I felt it then, a new current rising inside me, a kind of second wind. The urge to wall myself off was gone. Instead, I wanted to fight for what mattered. Janet stepped in, gathering Anna close. "It's over," she whispered. "It's really over." But I knew better. Nothing ends that easily. I walked to the kitchen, my steps steady for the first time in ages, and poured myself a glass of water, the routine strangely comforting. Anna followed, settling into a chair, head in her hands. I knelt beside her. "I should have believed you. I should have listened instead of hiding in my own head." Anna's shoulders shook, but she let me hold her hand. "I was scared, Dad. I didn't know how to fix it. I just wanted you to see me." I squeezed her hand. "I see you now, and I'm done letting grief run this house." A flicker of a smile crossed her lips. Janet moved about the kitchen, humming a tune Martha used to sing, the melody trailing through the air like a gentle benediction. For the first time in months, the house felt almost warm. As we settled, Anna's phone buzzed, lighting up the table. She glanced at it and frowned, sliding the screen toward me. An email subject line, bold, "Final estate notice." I opened it, skimming the words. Martha's lawyer wanted to meet with us tomorrow. Something about unresolved property and pending claims. I looked at Anna, her face pale in the glow. Janet met my eyes, her jaw set. Whatever came next, we'd face it together. But a new question hung between us, heavier than before. What had Martha left that none of us had seen? From somewhere deep in the house, the floorboards creaked a sound like footsteps overhead. Anna's gaze snapped up. For a moment, we all listened, hearts pounding. The house seemed to breathe, restless, holding secrets none of us were ready to face. And as midnight slipped past, I realized that for every wound exposed, something new was forming in its place, a hard, bright core that nothing could break. But the biggest revelation was still out there, just waiting for us to open the right door. I lay awake most of the night, the lawyer's email replaying in my mind, my thoughts racing through every conversation, every overlooked detail from Martha's final months. It was nearly dawn when I finally rose, rubbing sleep from my eyes, determined to stop letting old fears make decisions for me. Today I would not hide or stall. Today I would see things through. By breakfast, Anna was already up sitting at the table with Janet, her hair uncombed coffee cooling in her mug. She looked older somehow, her eyes red-rimmed but clear a hint of stubborn strength where there had been only weariness before. Janet was reading over the lawyer's message, lips pressed in a tight line. "I want to go to the meeting," Anna said, her voice steady. "We all should." I nodded. "No more secrets. We go together." Janet gave a single approving nod, gathering her purse. Outside, the sky was still gray, the frost clinging to the grass, the morning oddly bright after so many long shadowed nights. We drove in silence, the locket heavy in my pocket, my mind cataloging every possibility. I was done letting family feuds dictate our future. If Kate tried anything else, I would be ready. The lawyer's office was a squat brick building off Main Street, the kind of place you drove past 100 times without noticing. Inside, it smelled of old paper and stale coffee. We barely had time to sit before Kate swept in, her perfume, strong lips pressed together in a hard, determined line. She glanced at us but didn't offer a word of greeting. The lawyer, Mr. Harding, greeted us and settled behind his battered desk. He opened a slim folder, adjusting his glasses. "Thank you all for coming. There's a matter in Martha's estate that was left unresolved. It concerns a safety deposit box opened jointly by Martha and, at her request, Anna." Anna looked at me, startled. "Me?" Harding nodded. The box was only to be opened if both signatures were present, or failing, that by the executor and Martha's daughter. The bank contacted me yesterday after a routine audit. There are items inside which were not listed in the original inventory. The bank needs your authorization to access them. All of you. Kate's composure faltered for the first time. Her eyes darted between me and Anna, then settled on Harding. "And what exactly is in this box?" Harding folded his hands. "That's for you to discover. I can arrange for you to view the contents today." The four of us drove to the bank, the tension thick enough to choke on. I felt the years pressing down on me, all the times I had chosen silence over truth. No more. As Anna and I signed the forms, Kate hovered behind us, her fingers twitching, anxiety betraying her calm facade. Inside the small, windowless room, the banker brought out a battered metal box, placing it on the table. My hands shook as I lifted the lid. Nestled inside were a bundle of old letters, a small velvet pouch, and a stack of legal papers. Anna reached for the pouch, drawing out Martha's wedding ring, and the sapphire brooch we thought lost, safe, untouched, never pawned. Kate's face drained of color. "But I saw that brooch at the shop," Janet cut her off. "No. You saw what you wanted. You took what wasn't yours, but you never found what truly mattered." Anna thumbed through the letters, her breath catching. "They're from Mom," she whispered. "For me. For Dad. For all of us." I picked up the legal papers, reading through Martha's steady handwriting. Her will was simple. She wanted Anna to have the keepsakes. But the rest, the stories, the lessons, the forgiveness were to be shared. Do not let old wounds make new ones. She'd written her words rising off the page like a quiet benediction. Let what's left bind you, not break you. Kate pressed a hand to her mouth, the mask slipping entirely now. She stammered. "I never meant I just wanted a piece of her. I lost my sister, too." I met her eyes for the first time in years, and saw not malice but fear and sorrow as familiar as my own. But the years of deceit and quiet theft could not be undone by apology alone. Anna gathered the letters, cradling them to her chest, the locket and brooch safe in her palm. "It ends here," she said. "We start again, but only with the truth." The banker stepped out to give us privacy. For a long time we said nothing, just sat with Martha's legacy spread between us. But beneath the grief and the anger, I felt something giving way, a door finally unlocked, letting in the first clear light in years. Suddenly my phone buzzed a text from a number I didn't recognize. "Meet me at the old house tonight. There's something you need to see." M. My blood ran cold. I passed the phone to Anna, whose eyes widened in shock. Janet leaned in her face, pale. "Is that Martha?" The room spun, the open box before us, the unanswered question now burning at the center of everything. And for the first time, the story was no longer about what had been lost, but what still waited in the shadows to be found. We left the bank in a hush, Martha's letters bundled in Anna's lap, the phone heavy in my pocket. The message: "Meet me at the old house tonight. There's something you need to see." M pressed against my nerves like a stone. None of us spoke on the drive back. Anna stared out the window, knuckles white, her mind racing ahead of the car. Janet's jaw was set, eyes sharp in the rearview mirror. Even Kate was silent, the lines around her mouth deeper, her gaze pinned to the road, as if searching for a reason to stay. Dusk was already falling by the time we reached the house. The sky burned low and purple behind bare maples. Anna was first out of the car, clutching the letters to her chest, as if they were a shield. I unlocked the front door, the hinges creaking open to that same tired smell of lemon and old wood. The house felt close, as if it had been holding its breath all day. We gathered in the living room. Anna set the letters on the coffee table, her hand lingering over the stack. Kate hung back near the doorcoat, still on arms folded. Janet dropped her purse, the thud loud in the quiet. No one wanted to say it first, so I did. The message: maybe it's a prank. Or maybe someone found something of Martha's and wants to return it. Anna shook her head. "That's her signature. Mom always signed her notes with just M." Her voice wavered. "I want to go. I need to know." Kate scoffed, but it sounded weak. "You'd chase after a ghost before forgiving your own aunt." Anna rounded on her eyes bright. "Did you ever ask for forgiveness, or just take and hope we'd never notice?" Janet stepped between them, voice steady. "This isn't about blame anymore. It's about what Martha wanted us to find. If there's a secret left in this house, we should face it together." For a moment I saw all three women in the same frame, Anna, her hair tangled and defiant. Kate, brittle but wounded. Janet, tired but unyielding. Martha's absence was the loudest presence in the room. The old hurts pressed in, the kind that didn't heal, but became the shape of your days. A knock broke the standoff. Anna jumped, clutching the locket around her neck. Janet peered through the window, then frowned. "No one's there." Another knock, softer this time, coming from the back porch. I moved toward the kitchen, the others following, the air thick with old memories, and the scent of brewing coffee that seemed to linger from years gone. I flipped the porch light and eased open the back door. Only the wind, the porch swing creaking. On the mat, a single envelope yellowed and marked with Martha's hand. Anna snatched it up, breaking the seal with trembling fingers. She read aloud, "If you are reading this, it means I'm gone, and the house is not what it was. There is something left for you. For all of you. You'll find it where the light falls at dusk." She looked up, bewildered. Janet pressed her lips together, glancing towards the living room windows, where the last of the sunset sliced through, turning dust motes to gold. Kate stepped forward suddenly, intent. The attic. She always said the best light was up there just before night. The four of us climbed the narrow stairs, each footstep thick with dread and hope. The attic was cold, the air sharp with mothballs and old cedar. Anna flicked on the bulb, its light casting long shadows across trunks and forgotten boxes. Janet moved to the far corner, kneeling by an old cedar chest. "She hid Christmas presents in here," she said. Anna bent beside her, running her hand along the carved lid. Kate lingered by the window arms, wrapped around herself, eyes glistening. I knelt too, my knees protesting, and together we eased the chest open. Inside, layers of quilts and photo albums, loose buttons in a jar, a child's drawing with Anna's looping letters. And at the very bottom, an envelope addressed in Martha's strong hand, one for each of us. Anna tore hers open, reading silently, her breath hitching. Tears slid down her cheeks. Janet read hers, eyes squeezed tight, nodding to words only she could see. I opened mine, the familiar scrawl filling my vision. "Bill, love is what remains when everything else is gone. Let them know they are still family even when it hurts." Kate stood apart, clutching her unopened letter eyes lost. Anna looked at me, voice breaking. She forgave us, even before we knew we needed it. The moment stretched raw and holy. It could have been an ending, but the air shifted. From the far wall, the attic window rattled, and Anna, almost in a trance, crossed to it. She reached behind the frame and pulled out a battered notebook wrapped in ribbon, Martha's initials pressed in gold. She held it up, voice shaking. "Dad, I think she wanted you to see this. I think she wanted all of us to." Before I could answer, the wind slammed the window shut, scattering dust and memories, and the attic bulb flickered, once then went out, plunging us into darkness with only the sound of Anna's sobs and the cold weight of revelation for company. Darkness in the attic pressed close as we groped for the old pull chain, but Anna's hand never left mine. The notebook lay heavy between us, Martha's name glimmering even in the faintest light. Downstairs, Janet rummaged for candles. Kate hovered in the half-lit stairwell, her face lined with something softer than regret, almost relief. I sank to the dusty floorboards back against the chest and let my breath slow. I'd spent so long looking backward, trying to hold on to fix things with silent effort, to forgive with distance. The truth was, the years had only taught me how little control a man really has. You raise a family and hope your strength is enough, but time and loss don't bargain. They take piece by piece until what's left is only what you give freely: patience, forgiveness, the stubborn will to try again. Anna broke the silence first. She pressed the notebook into my hands. "She wanted you to read it." My thumb traced the battered ribbon. For a long moment I only listened to Janet's footsteps below the sighing of the old house, the wind shifting through naked branches outside. I opened to the first page, Martha's script, looping steady as ever. She had written to us in her last month's line after line apologies, hopes the stories she'd kept close, and the fears she'd never spoken. She had written as a wife, as a mother, as a sister left behind by time. She didn't ask for justice. She wrote about mercy. In that attic with Anna pressed close, Janet silent at the stairs, and Kate sitting cross-legged in the dark with her unopened letter clutched to her chest, I understood what Martha meant. Justice is easy to want, hard to live. The world takes what it wants, and most of what's lost never returns. But forgiveness, that's different. It grows in the slow work of living together, in the stubborn act of reaching out, even after you've been hurt, in letting old wrongs pass through you and out the door. I thought about the years I'd failed Anna, hiding my sorrow behind quiet, letting her grow up too fast. I thought of Janet, who kept coming back even when her own burdens were heavy, and Kate still shivering with the shame of having tried to grab one last piece of her sister when there was nothing left to steal. None of us had been what Martha needed at the end, but all of us carried her with us now. That had to count for something. I read a passage out loud, my voice rough but sure. Don't be so careful with pain, Bill. It's the one thing you can give away and not miss. Let them know you hurt. Let them hurt too. It's the only honest way forward. Anna wept her head on my shoulder. Janet climbed up with a candle, the soft light flickering over our faces, turning the attic golden, almost holy. Kate opened her letter, finally reading in silence, tears tracing down her cheeks. No one said sorry, not with words. We just sat together, letting the night settle. The wounds between us were deep, but not bottomless. In that hush, I found a strange kind of pride, not in what I'd kept, but in what I was finally willing to let go. My own anger, Anna's mistakes, Kate's trespasses, Janet's exasperation. All of it weighty and real, yet lighter when shared. The candle flame danced, picking out old handprints on the walls, a patch of peeling paint, where Anna had once drawn a heart, and Martha couldn't bring herself to scrub it off. These were the true heirlooms, the scraps and scars that survived loss. I pressed my lips to Anna's hair, her breathing steady at last. Outside, a car passed headlights, sweeping gold across the low window, then fading to the hush of country dark. I listened to the living heartbeat of my family, wounded, but beating still. It's never about the things. It's about the people left holding them, about the lessons carried, the mistakes, forgiven, the stubbornness it takes to start again. I saw then what Martha had been trying to give us, not a legacy of things, but a legacy of mercy, of reaching out after every storm, of letting go when the time is right. Someday this house will be empty, the attic bare, the notebooks all read and letters faded. But for now, I am here with the people who remain, loving them in all their brokenness and beauty. And that is enough. If you found something true in our story, I hope you'll stay with the channel. Sometimes the only thing that keeps us going is knowing we're not alone out here in the dark.